Have you ever found yourself envious of someone else's career? We're going to look at ways to deal with that. And Billboard is now counting Facebook music streams. What does that mean for you? Stick around. We have a lot to talk about. Hello and welcome to Music Industry City's Monday Kickoff, where we offer up important tips for a successful career and get you motivated for the week ahead. I'm Peter Schwing, and joining me are my fellow co-hosts, Aisha Adamo and the Duke. If there's something you'd like to chime in about, join us in the chat, leave a comment below, and we do this little after show thing. So once we run the final credits, we're going to come mysteriously, magically come back, and we can have like kind of a little off the record conversation. So we got a lot to talk about, but let's start off by checking with Dave and Aisha. What is up, everybody? Happy Monday.
Hello. Hey.
All right. So we're almost a year into this. I think it's like, like the 13th. I think next week is the 1 year anniversary of everything that 1 year anniversary of 14 days to flatten the curve. So, how are you? How do you plan on celebrating?
Eternal optimism.
What was that, Dave?
I would say we could celebrate by staying inside. You know what I mean? And just hiding out.
Being creative, doing some work. So how was everybody's weekend? I mean, we're starting to get into Marching up here in the Northeast. We're starting to see some light. We're starting to see some longer days. Dave, you've been back in New York for a little bit. What have you been, what's been keeping you busy over the weekend?
And I've just been making art, music, do some things. I mean, just doing my thing always. New York City it's good to be back in New York City, and the vibes are definitely interesting. It feels like there's like so much less people than there were before, but at the same time, it almost feels like kind of like summer school, where it's like you're still there and you see some people that you know, but there's a lot of people that already left. But it makes me excited for the next school year because you get to buy new clothes and look good.
I like that, summer school, because I've done a little bit of summer school. It's like you don't necessarily want to be there and you want to be out, but like you meet some new people and it's like a different vibe and like things change. You come out with a different perspective.
I hated summer school. It was like the worst. I hated school, period. And then they made me go to school during the summer. I was like, oh my God, this is, I can't wait.
I had a cute girl in one of my classes, so that made life easier. We'd go out for milkshakes afterwards. So yeah, it was adorable. So anyway, Aisha, did that make you envious?
The milkshake part for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't had a good milkshake in a minute. Like, and I feel like I don't have the capacity to make a really good one at home. I feel like a really good milkshake is always made by someone else, someplace that has one of those nice tall glasses with a big stripy straw. I have milkshake envy.
Well, I can find good milkshakes, but it's really tough to find, and what's amazing when you find it? A
milkshake
chocolate
that brings all the boys to the yard.
Close. I'm going with some Lou Reed, and we're going with some chocolate egg cream.
Oh, you know what closed? Gem Spot in the East Village.
Oh no!
Egg creams.
Man, I need to find
place. So many musicians went there too.
Yeah, I need a good egg cream. I got to put that on my list. Once we open back up, going down the city, I'm getting an egg cream. So, Dave, we're going to cut back to you in just a moment because we have some really interesting news with Facebook and Billboard. But Aisha, why don't you join me?
Yeah.
Envy. So, what I mentioned the word, what envy really means as creators who are working hard at the hustle in a sea of social media posts. And it's easy to sometimes experience envy. So the counting of the numbers, it's like, well, I've been doing this and this musician has been doing that and they have 1,000 new followers and I still only have 100, and they have all these great graphics and I'm doing this. And it's like, well, how do I get there? And you have envy and you also have burnout because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. What's your thoughts on this?
Oh, yeah, trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Mhm.
That is the perennial sea of disappointment right there.
Yeah.
I mean, in this world we're dealing with, everyone is sharing their wins on social media all the time. And it's easy for creatives to experience envy. I mean, sure, like you've seen like this other artist that you know has this many followers or this many likes or this many views, and they've got reviews in this publication or shows at that venue. Well, not right now, but later. They're, getting signed by this label or that manager, and it all weighs on the creative person, right? The social experience we engage in online does everything to highlight the path toward this type of envy. Now, envy is a little bit distinct from, hey, jealousy. Envy specifically is feeling some kind of way about someone who already possesses that which we greatly desire, while jealousy is more of a rivalry and suspicion toward a rival. But envy, on the other hand, is pretty simple. You want what they got. I think it goes without saying that this isn't the most enjoyable feeling. I mean, we've all felt it, and we know it doesn't feel that great. And when we find ourselves indulging in it, it just has that not so fresh feeling. But the thing is, it's not only a damaging emotion to ourselves and our internal self talk, it's also damaging to our careers in an outward fashion. Nobody wants to hear about your envy. Publicly, it's a bad look. And yet, if you button it up and keep it all to yourself, the results can be really toxic and explosive. It can become resentment or bitterness, and that is really something that nobody wants to hear about. An even worse look that can really stand in the way of the things that you want to do creatively and in your career. So, as creatives, I think we've got to find a way to work through this envy and resentment as well, for that matter. Um, so, they're kind of related. One facet of a way to cure this envy is to find someone that you can talk to about it. This might be a therapist or a really understanding friend or relative, so long as you don't, dump on them all the time. Even talking it out just to yourself in front of a mirror or when you're walking around your room, putting the words out loud and into words that you can hear, or dancing it out physically or in some kind of physical action, all of that can be helpful. The second facet of a cure is like identifying that envy and realizing that this envy is telling us something. It's actually our inner selves telling us exactly what we want. It's pointing us in the direction that we actually want to go. So, in this way, envy can be a really helpful tool because we wouldn't feel some kind of way about what someone else has unless we somehow, on a really deep level, knew that that's where we want to be going. So it's kind of a guidepost to us as well. And that, it's just showing us that those are the experiences and advantages that we really want to have. So we have a direction now to move towards. And that can be a really great guidepost for us. So if you can look into it carefully, envy is just telling you who you really want to become. And that can be used for good. And the third facet is gratitude. When you start to feel low about the things that you should have or how things should be going, we've all gone there before. Just take a deep look and, look at what is good with is what's already going on. Like, we know we see how things should be, but let's look at how things are, because there's always some good in that. There's good to be found. And no matter how minute, it's worth celebrating. And even if the celebration is so much bigger than the actual thing that you're celebrating, that's fine. Celebrate it big. Celebrate it bigger than anything else, because even a small win is a really big deal. And if you really let yourself get wrapped up in the joy of it, that can lift you up. It's one of the best cures for envy. So if you're finding some of those not so fresh feelings in your life, a little bit of envy creeping up this week, just go ahead, talk it out, dance it out, outsmart it with your ability to see that it's pointing you on your path, and celebrate the wins that you do have going on, because you definitely have them, even if they're small. I promise you that if you do this, it's going to make a really big shift in how you feel, and that's going to make a big shift in your career overall. So that's what I got this week.
Right on, right on. Yeah, it is such a challenge. It's like, you're looking at like somebody's career and it's like, oh, I'm envious of what they have. And then and you're hitting the nail. It's like if you start complaining about it, then it's just this negative vibration. It's just circling back because people like, you might be able to make a like slight complaint to like a friend. It's like, oh, it's like blah, blah, blah. And I wish I had that. Okay, get it out, get it out. Just like, all right. And then it's like, fine, move on. You got it off your chest, move on. Now, if you continue to keep on going, it's like, it just becomes, and like, then your friends are like, just like, I don't want to hear this anymore. Or if you're complaining and posting, and I've seen artists do this, where they're saying they would compare themselves and then they're like, I don't want to compare and we're not that. And they're saying, and they're thinking that others, like people are comparing them to another act when they're not being
Right.
compared.
Nobody's doing that.
So what they're doing is they're saying, hey, we're not that act, and that's why we're not doing this. When really what they're saying is they're envious of what they have. And, because if they did have what they had in their own mind, they wouldn't be saying something like that.
Right. And they're also setting themselves up into that framework without wanting to do so, which isn't helpful. It's just not a good look anyway.
Exactly. So then like when you come to, you're like, everybody finds themselves, it's envious, at some point. You look at something, you're like, oh, and that's also the problem with social media is your people are constantly just flipping through the feed and you're seeing all the great things because, most people aren't putting out what the hard work is, what the downside is. They're like, and here's, all sunshine and lollipops and rainbows and unicorns. And that's, yeah. But there has been a shift, and I've seen people open up more recently, especially on recently with everything that's going on, because mental health is such an issue right now that people are opening up. So, but when you take it in that other side, it's like, oh, you're only seeing what the people want you to see, and that's a lot of time the good stuff. And so, therefore, it's like you might be envious of something that there's no reason to be envious of, because while you might say, hey, that's great, there's a lot of other shit going on because everybody's got shit to deal with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we all know how much goes into that one post, or I mean, everything has a big story behind it that you're not seeing, and a lot of work and a lot of technical malfunctions and, the UPS guy knocking on the door in the middle of your take, or all of those things that go wrong. Helicopters hovering over your house when you're trying to record audio.
It's that's why the edit
things
button.
of
That's what the edit button and fix it in post. All right, we're gonna come back to this when we get everybody up on the round table here. So I want to get over and say hi to Dave. Dave, all right. So we're going to get there in 1 second. What this is really interesting news is that Billboard is now going to be tallying up Facebook plays into their charts. And with this, it was a statement that was said is that it's about creating a new channel for social experiences around music so you can discover new artists from music videos shared by an artist you follow in front of newsfeed, connect with other fans and be passionate. And react to a video in real time. So there's all these stats that are going on with everything. And here to talk about it, Dave. What's the good word, Dave?
Yeah, bro. Very interesting. Facebook streams.
Yeah, I mean, being able to interact. Tamara Hervnak was saying share your passion in the Facebook groups, all this stuff. That was the original statement about when they were rolling out all the videos and on Facebook and having your artists connect to the platform. And that was months ago. And it could have been a year ago. I mean, 2020 was an illusion. So that statement there was back when when they put it together for the artist groups and pages. Now they're tying that into Billboard. So, how do you see this playing out? Like I think it's great, but I want to hear your thoughts.
feels to me, it feels like the mob. It kind of feels like the mafia to me, in that like it's a deal that went on behind the scenes, but it didn't include Twitter or TikTok or YouTube. So if you look at the five families of social media, Facebook is just one of those families. So, you know, the other guys are gonna have there's gonna be some people on the streets with some crowbars, trying to get in that game as well. So I don't really know. It's like, you know, more people are on TikTok than Twitter, but does a view not equal a view? Do we not all bleed? You know what I'm saying? Is a stream not a stream for us all? If I have a million streams on YouTube, but I have 50 streams on Facebook, am I not the same artist? Did I not spend the same amount of time in the studio? Does it not still count for my clout regime energies that lives in the clouds that like tells everybody that I'm famous when they Google me? You know what I'm saying? So if we're gonna work the illusion, then I think it should be an equal illusion for all the five families of the social media game. And it'll be interesting when a new family member comes into the social media game and how they integrate that into the Billboard thing. Um, because one time I was at Billboard. This will just be a little sidebar. One time I was at Billboard, right? The lead singer of the band, I was in Shinobi Ninja. At the time, being interviewed by Billboard, and I was in the Billboard offices, and I'm looking around this office, and they got books everywhere. It's just Billboard, 1921 Billboard, February, 1927 January, and it's like everywhere you look, it's like Billboard. But now it's like you would never fill a room with that. You know what I mean? That's something from the past. So I think this is something that's interesting for now, but in X amount of years, it will be the past as well. And again, it's like if you give too much power to the five families, one family is going to become more powerful than the others, and everybody's going to get whacked. It's just the way it is in the mob, and it's just a digital mob now, social media mob. So, Facebook's interesting. They got a lot of power. They got the most people. They got a lot of money, but you got to look at it in a dark way. Sometimes you got to go on the other side and go like, might just be too much power. People are being censored. Presidents are getting their accounts taken away. So it's like, then they pull your streams. You know what I mean? Your clout number goes down. Then you earn less money when you go out and play. It's just all real something where you kind of look at and you go like, well, there's so many ways this could go right now. So it's dangerous, but awesome at the same time. Like super cool. You know what I mean? Like different streams. Like you're not selling albums, so numbers got to come from somewhere. And then the other thing, last point, right? Last point, Instagram. You have people with millions of followers on Instagram. They're not real. Those followers are not real. They still post and they get 3 likes. One of them is their mom, and one of them is their brother. And that's the only people that are liking their posts. And they got millions. So it's like, I got millions of plays on Facebook. I'm number 1 on the Billboard charts. I don't know if that equates. You know what I mean? If it's still on your mom's listening and your brother really liked it, that bar that you wrote was fire. But it's like, how are you number 1 on the Billboard charts now? Because you know what I mean? So it's a lot of gumbo into the soup. And you got to make sure you're hungry when you sit down on that table, because there's going to be some different flavors served in the coming days, months, and years of the social media mob empire. You heard it here first. Doobie Duke Sims nailed it. 5 families of social media, and I'm out.
Boom. I can't drop my mic because it's so lavalier here, so it wouldn't have the same effect. Dave, there are 3 quick things that that you hit upon that I just want to you talk about Instagram and like somebody has millions of followers. Like I saw a great statement somebody said. It was like, when it comes to social media, you are renting followers, you are renting fans, because you don't what happens when the next hot social platform comes out. Now you have to try to get those fans over to that to follow you there, because you might not want to use Instagram Reels anymore. You want to use super duper music discovery app, and then you have to get your fans over there. So it's always like, when you look at that, and that's why they say, try to get the email addresses, get people back to your website, so you can always say, hey, I am on this new platform. Going back to like saying like the Billboard charts and everything. I mean, go back over a decade now, I guess it is. Rebecca Black's Friday, which YouTube video. And the reason people watched it was because it was terrible. It was like, it wasn't like, hey, you need to watch this song because it's great. You're like, people are sharing that saying, you need to watch this song because it's bad. And that racked up millions and millions of views. So she gets, all this money, great label. It's like, and then she's like, next thing you know, she has a producer album, she gets charted. And I know I think she released something recently, so she hasn't gone away. It is, I think, better. And then going with like the censorship is, this is nothing new to be like, to have music censored. It's just a different platform. And, you go back to like the Dixie Chicks when they were doing some, talking about George Bush and everything. And then, that blacklisting across radio. I mean, pretty much just like no Dixie Chicks will be played on the radio. And then like, Walmart, the big box, Walmart controlled what was going on those shelves. If they didn't like somebody's stance on something or had complete control over artwork, in a sense, that if something was a little bit risque, or even the track titles, the song titles, Walmart said we won't stock them. So therefore now the artists and the labels, to get into Walmart, had to redo artwork specifically for Walmart slotting. And, that's money and that's time. But Walmart made the decision. So it's like, well, you want to either play the game, or do you want to sit this one out and just go, go to whatever Sam Goody's store was down the block, which was also closing up at the time.
Yeah, I mean, you can play the game, like you said, man. It's if either you're going to play the game or you're not. If you're not going to play the game, then you're much freer. Then you can actually speak your mind. But if you want to play the game, then so we'll stop wearing masks. People will stop wearing masks, but your art might not. And if you play the game, you might have to put a mask on your art. You know what I mean? And it just is what it is. If you don't want to play the game, fuck them. You can do whatever you want to do. You can put the mask on your ears and you don't have to see them or hear them. You know what I mean? You can do crazy shit. But it's up to you.
All right, let's get Aisha back on up here. I see you're smiling in the background there.
Oh yeah. No, I'm loving it. I'm feeling it, and as an Adamo, we know about familia. You know what I'm saying? I love what Dave had to say this week, because I really think that this is a probably feeble attempt by Facebook to save any interest there is. And honestly, Facebook, Instagram has the worst algorithm for artists that there is. Like, he's talking about the 3 likes that you get with your many, many followers. Yeah. Well, some of that is like fake followers. And some of that, for a lot of accounts, is that, Instagram will only show your post to 10% of the people following you, just like Facebook does, with their pages. Like, nobody sees that shit unless you pay them for the ad. So how are these artists going to get their plays to count up on Billboard? Well, you know how they're going to get it. They're going to have to pay Facebook to have the post like spread to the people who already wanted to follow them. It's a total racket. Like, totally. Yeah.
Well, it's now gaming the system on Facebook by, using, there's the bots that'll be in there. There's the running the ads to get to Facebook. So like you said, pay to play, keep drawing advertising back to that video to get more plays so you can get that #1 slot on Billboard, which, what does it mean now anymore these days? What does being #1 on Billboard mean? Because does anybody remember #2? Does top 20, when somebody says, when I read, I broke the Billboard Top 100. I had a song or my album, my EP, Billboard Top 100. That doesn't mean anything anymore. So it's like, if you're putting your profile Top 100, that's like, okay, you sold 500 albums and you had like 1 million streams or something. It's, and now it's all this cumulative area. So like what David's saying, it's like, well, yeah, what is a TikTok stream worth? What is an Instagram stream worth? What is a YouTube stream worth?
Yep. I mean, and those other platforms are doing better.
Well, that's another
I like. Sorry, I was gonna say I like Facebook. I like Mark Zuckerberg if he was here like drinking with me. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I could drink like 3 hours with Mark Zuckerberg. But it's like, do I want to be like sucking on the nipple of his fucking Facebook? Like, I don't give a fuck about that. But that's kind of what it is. Just like, hey man, you want this milk? Facebook, get it. And it's cool. I like it. But I don't want to suck the milk juice on it. You know what I mean?
uh, guess, by the way, David, I see Sandra Smalls out there. What's up, Sandra? Thank you for your compliments. And she also agreed summer school sucked.
How much she did. Shout out to Sandra Smalls. I remember playing shows with her, like a decade back. So it's like, and that's one more thing about the music industry. What makes it rad, and what going back to what Aisha says. Let's just bring it together right now. Let's put it like glue. You got to enjoy the process. You got to enjoy the process, because the percentage of you being successful is so against you. And if you have to look at that and see all these famous people and compare yourself to that, it's a wrap for you. You're going to miss out on the food that just got put out on the table that's here for you today. Like, when's the last time you played a gig and they came out with some hummus and some celery? You know what I mean? You appreciate that hummus and celery, because usually you ain't getting nothing. So it's like, really take the time to focus on the hummus and the celery, not so much on what's going on over there, like with that artist. So you compare yourself to that. It's like, enjoy it, because it's the ups and downs, and it's the experience of life, which is the most important. And for this, we say amen.
Right on. And Aisha, I know you could probably tie that in with gratitude.
Hummus and celery. Nourishment.
I think everybody just needs to post hummus and celery. Let's make this trending on Twitter. So like
Hashtag
just
hummus and celery.
hashtag hummus and celery. We got to get this thing trending. So, all right, this is fantastic. Thank you. We're going to wrap up, but we're going to come back in just a moment. So first and foremost, thanks again for everybody tuning in. There's a lot going on in Music Industry City. So if you're over on Clubhouse, we have the daily news reads weekdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. We're also doing talks for artists' career and artist pitch and play. So you get to pitch your music and play your music. So that's happening on Clubhouse. It is going to be live streamed here. So if you're not on Clubhouse, you can tune in and catch the live stream. All the audio is connected, all the videos connected. It's fantastic. Make sure to sign up for at musicindustrycity.com. We send out the weekly emailer. We also, 7 p.m. Eastern tonight, we are in Alt Space VR, where we do a VR music and VR networking lounge. So once again, thank you to my co-hosts, Aisha and the Duke. And we will see you next time. Have a rocking day. Peace.